Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer and welcome to Best Kept Plans. Today's video is going to be a plan with me for the week of July 24th through the 30th, 2023 using my B5 Archer&Olive notebook. If you're interested in seeing that, please stick around. Here we are in my Archer&Olive notebook. I'm going to be going with a vertical layout for this spread. I'm going to be using this stencil from the Crafter's Workshop. I'll also be using these days of the week and week number stamps from Elle's Studio. I'll be incorporating the July stamp from this set from PaperPerson. And I'll also be using, or I was planning on using, one of the box stickers from that set from HeidiSwapp, though I ended up forgetting. I will be using my favorite number stamps from HeidiSwapp. I will be using these two colored distressed oxides as well as my black VersaFine ink. So we're going to zoom on in here, and I have my stencil all set up with some washi tape to hold it in the right spot. My thought process for this week's spread is that I wanted bright colors, and I didn't want to do a rainbow spread. I wanted to just choose two different colors to work with. So I ended up going with two of my favorite color distressed oxides, the picked raspberry and the broken china color. And I'm using one row of this stencil from the Crafter's Workshop as my deco along the top of the page. Unfortunately, the stencil wasn't long enough to quite make it across one side of the page, so I did have to do some finagling. I didn't want the stencil to go straight across the two pages of my spread from left to right. I wanted there to be a break in the middle, so that did mean picking up and putting down this stencil about 6 times. No, that's a lie. 4 times. One thing that I wasn't initially intending on doing was having each page in the spread be pink, blue, pink along the top. I was planning on just going back and forth between the two colors, but I would have had to wash this stencil in between each use to do that. And so for ease of working with what I had basically and not having to wash the stencil multiple times as I was putting the spread together, I decided to just do pink, blue, pink across the top on each page. And I will say I did have quite a bit of bleeding through with this stencil, and I definitely think that was my fault. I did have it taped down with washi, but a lot of times when you're working with stencils, you really have to press around where you're putting the ink down or the distress oxide down, because if not, the stencil is a little lifted from the paper and that'll make things bleed. And I think I just wasn't being good enough with regards to holding the stencil down. Now I'm going in with my days of the week stamps from Elle's Studio and my number stamps from HeidiSwapp. I'm doing what I did last week, except I'm actually using 2 different size blocks, and I'm basically trying to do the days of the week and the number stamps all together to make this process a little bit quicker for me. I wanted both the numbers and the days of the week to be on the stenciled portion of the page, but I will say that looking back, I kind of wish that I would have had the days of the week below the stencil and the numbers on the stencil. And the reason I'm kind of wishing I would have done it that way instead is just because I do feel that with these days of the week stamps, which are, pretty thin, it's a little hard to see given how bright and rich the colors that I chose for the deco are. I think if I would have chosen more pastel colors, it would have been easier to see the days of the week, but since we have a hot pink and a bright blue, it's a little hard to see through. I am going down to Sunday really quick to put in the date and day of the week, and I actually had a little bit of a spacing error here. I should have put the day of the week down one more line, and because I didn't, it is overlapping with the date, so it doesn't quite match what I did along the top of the page, but I'm not too angry about it. I think overall it doesn't really look like an error. It just looks a little different than what I did across the top. Now I'm on the left-hand page of the spread, putting down the dates and days of the week for Monday through Wednesday. One thing I will say is that I do wish I would have been just a little bit better at trying to blend the distressed oxides that I used across the top a little bit better. If you'll see the first transition between pink and blue, you definitely get that kind of purpley vibe right in the middle. But the second transition from blue back to pink, I don't know that that's so obvious. I wish I would have paid more attention to that as I was putting down my distress oxides and made sure to have the colors overlap a little bit more so that you really got that purple coming through. One of the reasons why I really wanted to go with bright colors for this spread is because I am actually going on vacation at the end of this week, which is super exciting. I wanted to make sure that the colors I used in the spread kind of replicated the brightness of where I'm going, which is Florida. I definitely tried when I was thinking of like colors to use for this spread to use distress oxides that would mimic like sand and then the sea, but it did not look right when I was trying it out on just like a scrap piece of paper. So I ended up going with the pink and the blue instead. And honestly, I really, really like the way that this looks. I like that it's just a hint of deco up top. As you can see, I didn't even use my stencil to do some deco around where I put the month, the week number stamp, and then the week of the year that it is. I just really wanted to go very simple with this spread. I did have the intention of using one of those box stamps and putting it down on the 28th because that is the day that I'm going on vacation, and I don't know what happened. I just forgot. And so that unfortunately didn't happen. I'm just going to use a sticker on that date to kind of have a designated area for saying I'm going away. I'm just going in with my pencil now, just erasing some marks, and that is it for this week's spread. I hope you enjoyed this plan with me. As always, be safe, everyone. Bye-bye.